Welcome back, I'm Mr. Burke. Today we're going to have a look at using this program which is called ProVector. It is a free online tool to use which allows us to be able to draw vectors and graphics. Now you can use things like Canva. Canva, I don't think there's a lot of usability with it because it doesn't allow you to use some of the tools down here like anchor point tools, pen tools, trim, shapes, things like this. So that is why we're going to use a program like this. So when you click on the link, you are then going to just go start for free and it will open up like this. Now it's giving you some set sizes here. So we're going to say an A4. If you've already done something before and you're just reopening a file you've done on ProVector, you can just drag it here or click here to open. This is my first time doing it, so I'm just going to go create. And as you can see, it opens up this A4 page. Now, there's a lot of tools down the side that you might be familiar with, might look familiar. But if you're not, don't worry. We're going to go through it now anyway. I'm going to go to view here, and I'm just going to turn on this grid, okay? So you can see it gives me more of a grid. It's a bit handier to be able to draw, I think, with a grid. You can also do an isometric grid, which will allow you to be able to draw in isometric a bit, but I'm just going to leave the regular grid on, and lines will snap to that. So this first tool here is the select tool. It'll allow me to move things. This will allow me to move at certain points that I create. This is my pen tool I want to use, which is why we use a program like this, because it's got a pen tool, which is a lot more usable, a lot more interesting to make shapes rather than just a line tool, which is all you get with programs like Canva. There's also then just shape tools here, ellipse tools, square tools, things like that. I am going to bring in an image because I'm going to use this to draw out my phone holder that I've made a model of. So if I click that, I now have to drop the image somewhere. So I'm going to just click it here and it's going to ask me to open up the image. Now, this is my image of a phone holder I've done. You can see it's quite large. Now, I need to move on to my select tool if I want to actually select this. So it's quite large. Okay, I can reduce the size down here. Or I can just hold my control and zoom out, and I'm going to drag it smaller. When I drag it smaller though, I'm going to make sure I hold shift so it'll drag it smaller in proportion. Okay, I'll zoom in and show you what I mean by that. So here it is smaller so I can see it. If I don't hold shift and I try and drag it smaller, it'll drag it out of proportion, okay? Which is not what I want. If I hold shift, you see now, it drags it in proportion, okay? So make sure you hold shift before you start to drag it. I'm just going to go Control Z, which is a shortcut to undo something. And there we have, there is that. Now I can also rotate it. Now I tried to take a nice flat image of it so I can draw around it. You can see it's a little bit skewed. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to choose to rotate it. This is the angle it's at. I'm going to do it about 1 degree, and you can see now it's a bit flatter. Now the main thing, as I said, I'm going to use is my pen tool. To use the pen tool, click on it and it'll select it. I want to click but not hold and move away. Now I can just start to draw lines like this and it's going to fill it in for me. You see a color and I can go back to the end. It's done that shape. If I go on select tool, I can move that around. Okay. I want to do a straight line when I do it. So again, I'm going to go onto my pen tool. I'm going to click, but this time I'm going to hold shift, okay? When I do hold shift, it allows it to do a straight line. So even if this line isn't straight, you see the way it's done, a straight line, okay? So it does it at a completely horizontal across or vertical. So now I'm hold it there, and even if I've not done it exactly, see the way it's come down completely vertical. And I'm going to click around at each of those points while holding shift. And you can see it starting to fill in that shape. Now, if that's not perfect, it doesn't matter. I can come back and edit it later. What I want to do first is I want to trace around my shape. And again, I'm just using my line tool there, and I will finish back at the end. All right, I'm going to go back onto my select tool, and you can see I've got that solid shape. Okay, now if I had a curve or something here, I would still just draw it like this normally, and I would come back and edit the curve later. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so we can see. I've got these points. Now I can drag this bigger or smaller. Okay, it's the size I want it to be, so I'm happy with that. But I'm going to click on this one. Okay, allows me to select certain points on this pad. So I could click this and I could move that point around. If I don't think that's as good of a place, I'll move it up and move it up, things like this. I'm going to try and make sure I'm keeping it vertical. See the way it's snapping to the grid? That's why it's good to have a grid. See the way right there it snaps to being a nice vertical line. Same with this one. It'll snap to being a horizontal and vertical line. If, however, I had a curve, I can always add more points, okay? Or I could click on any point and I could turn it into a curve by clicking on that circle there and turn it into a curve. So I could curve off that edge if I want, and I could move that around. So see the way it's a nice curved edge now. So there's ways I can play away with this shape, okay? If I don't like anything, I can hold Control Z, and you see the way it goes back, okay? I can also double click here and I can add more points, or again, I can just move those points. Right. So when I have the shape I want, you can see I actually have a circle in this. So I'll go to my select tool. See the way I have a circle in this? Now I'm not going to draw any of the fold lines because I don't want the fold lines. I want this as a solid silhouette. So let's reduce down the opacity of this. So see the way I can still see what's underneath. I've just reduced down its opacity, making it transparent. Okay, and I'm going to use the ellipse tool to draw the ellipse and make sure it's where I want it to be. I could also select, move that out of the way, and select these two shapes together, and I could say they are in line, so they are in the middle. See the way it's moved that circle to the middle? If I was to move it to there, it moves it up, but I want it exactly down where it was, but in the middle of it, okay? And I'm using these align tools, which is similar to what we've done before. Now this image here, I can just delete it because I don't need it anymore. And this here, I can give it a solid color, so let's make it black, okay? And I'm going to reduce back the opacity of it. So there it is. Now it's not exactly perfect for me, but that is fine. So I've got this circle here, I've got this solid black color, and that is what I want to cut out. Now, when I have it drawn up, I am now going to go onto my file here and I am going to export it. I can export it as an SVG and I can also export it as a PNG. Now, an SVG is what works best with the laser cutter, but if you submit it as a PNG, as long as it's a solid silhouette, it will also work as well because the laser cutter can just take the lines, okay? So we can do that SVG or a PNG, and it will save. I can name it and it will save into your downloads. If you are not finished and you want to save up your work so you can do it again later, all you got to do is save as and give it a name, put it whatever. And next time when you open up, you're just opening up that project. Okay, that is how to use that program. It's very straightforward and easy to use. Have a go at it. It's similar to programs you used before, but the main reason we're using it is because we have this pen tool, which allows us to draw this solid thing. You can also try and build up the shape with rectangles as well. So I could build up that with rectangles, okay, and move them around, but I find it a bit easier to use a pen tool. Have a go at that and see how we get on.